Well, our next guest on the Concerted Commander radio show is Sharon Slater, and she's president of Family Watch International and a co-founder of this group that we're here in the convention today. It's called Protect the Children Health Coalition. This is the fourth, I think, annual convention. And just welcome to the Concerted Commander radio show, Sharon.
Oh, thank you. It's a privilege to be here.
Now, Sharon, you have been counseling the United Nations, and you've counseled the White House on something called CSE. And what we know about CSE is because our previous guest, Dr. Ruth, I want to call her Dr. Ruth, but it's Dr. Judith Reisman. She studied Kinsey and backwards, forwards for decades. And the evidence is kind of like the Steele dossier, fake news. This was fake science. All the tables, all the surveys, nothing's corroborated. Nothing's verified in what Kinsey did in his reports, but that all created something called CSE, and that's why we're here to talk to you. What is CSE?
Well, CSE is an acronym for an insidious form of so-called sexuality education. It's very different from sex education that most people are familiar with. It's comprehensive sexuality education, and when they say comprehensive, they mean comprehensive everything about sexuality. Now, just really quickly, the World Health Organization defines sexuality as including such things as pleasure, eroticism, fantasy, desires, sexual orientation, gender identity. So if you're going to have education
that's
that's comprehensive, it's going to be all of that. And that's exactly what it is.
So big smorgasbord. Oh my gosh. And you have been a fighter on the front lines, and I know recently you changed the opinion of the White House, and you've been working with the United Nations. So tell us more about this work, because it's really fabulous. And I mean, the fans of the Concerted Commander radio show are going to be applauding as they see you on to talk about this very important subject.
Well, thank you. A lot of people misunderstand how the United Nations works, because you have 192 plus UN member states. Then you have all these UN agencies. The UN agencies have been infiltrated by International Planned Parenthood Federation, and they're the largest provider of this radical sexuality education for children. So they're mainstreaming CSE through all the projects and programs of all these UN agencies very deceptively. Some of the member states don't even know what's in these programs and how they're insidious that they are. So all this foreign aid is going through these UN agencies and then spreading this throughout, especially in developing countries, but it's also here in the United States. There's federal funds that are coming to every state in the United States pushing this in the schools.
And what are they pushing? I'm going to suggest probably, you say Planned Parenthood, we're going to be talking about abortion.
Well,
but I think there's a lot more to their agenda.
Right. Yeah. We've identified 15 harmful elements in these programs that they push abortion, they push LGBT rights, they sexualize children. They have an almost obsessive focus on sexual pleasure and how children can get sexual pleasure, and they have a right to have sex. In fact, the UN released the International Technical Guidance on Sexuality Education. You can Google it. This is just 2018. And this document redefines abstinence. It says that abstinence is not just refraining from having sex, but it's also deciding with whom and when you're going to have sex.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is George Orwell. The word abstinence, if they redefine the word abstinence?
Redefining it, yes. Because then they can say this is abstinence education. It also says that CSE promotes the right to have sex with whoever you want, whenever you want. And again, CSE is for children. It promotes the gender ideology, that you may have a different gender identity than your biological sex, the gender is fluid, that kind of dangerous sex education.
Christina's got a couple questions.
Yeah, in your work with United Nations, which is amazing in itself. I mean, when you hear that, you go, talk about going into the belly of the beast, the belly of the whale, where there you go. But because you've done that, what happened when you found out that there were feminists and that there were homosexual activists that brought their cases into the UN?
Thank you. When the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, failed in the United States, those same radical feminists took their cause to the United Nations and
That's
started
amazing.
infiltrating all of the UN agencies, thinking they could bring a top-down approach from the UN and get it into all the policies all across the world. So they learned how to influence. They got the Western governments that are lockstep with this agenda, many of the European countries putting a lot of money into these agencies to drive the agendas. And the Obama administration was heavily involved in this, putting a lot of our tax dollars towards pushing this agenda worldwide.
So has there been areas where we talk about redefining words? You talked about abstinence. What about redefining the words rights? You have fundamental human rights, which we all know, which we thought was supposed to be part of the Bill of Rights and the independence and all that goes on. But what about the rights of children, and how is that affected in this?
I'm really glad you brought that up. Human rights is probably the most deceptive term that is bringing this agenda in than any other term, because we say it's, well, I have this book, Stand for the Family. And in
I love the title.
We have a chapter on common anti-family strategies. And one of these strategies is the Call It a Human Rights Strategy.
Wow.
So everything connected to this, they say CSE is an international right for children, and that's enshrined in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is a binding treaty that every nation has signed except for the United States. Thankfully. But they take simple provisions in there like a child's right to health. And they say, well, have a right to health. Well, they can't have health unless they have good sexual and reproductive health, the next most deceptive word. Well, how do you have good sexual and reproductive health? Well, you have to have information to protect your health. So you have to have a right to comprehensive sexuality education. You have the UN Rapporteur on Education who gave a report to the General Assembly, and instead of saying, we have all these children that aren't getting a basic education across the world, he said the problem is not enough children are getting their right fulfilled to get comprehensive sexuality education that'll teach them not to feel guilty about eroticism, that won't be inhibited by their sexuality, by religious beliefs. And this is what's being pushed as a human right for children.
Yeah, but these nations, they don't sign on to that.
Well, yes and no.
As
It's a battle
the culture,
day in,
the
day
culture.
in, day out at the United Nations, and that's why we're there. We're supporting the developing countries, the African countries, the Islamic countries. Sometimes we get the Caribbean countries on our side. Russia's on our side on this, the Holy See. And we try to rally them and try to show them all the deceptive terms and get them to stand up against all the European countries. Canada, Australia is very big time. They've co-opted most of the Latin American countries that vote along with this. So it's just a battle day in and day out at the United Nations. In almost every policy battle, every document, they make it a war over comprehensive sexuality education. That's because CSE is the #1 tool to get their agenda to the rising generation. See if they can raise up the rising generation and all this radical gender, abortion rights, LGBT rights ideology, then they have the
Sexual
future.
fluidity, one day you're a
all
boy,
of this.
you're gay, or, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Okay, we didn't like comprehensive immigration reform, and one of our conservative commandos, Art Harmon, was the guy who got the Gang of Eight busted years back. So now you use this word comprehensive sexual education. We have just a little over a minute before our first break, but to tell our listeners, our viewers, what are they getting into? Because we've seen some really rough stuff here this convention.
Well, we use the word CSE, comprehensive sexuality education. We've stigmatized that so much that they're actually using now different words, so you have to be careful. The new word is sexual and reproductive health education. They'll call it family life education, HIV education. So really what you have to do is you have to look at the manuals. Parents everywhere, governments everywhere. If they're offered a program, they need to look intensely at all the materials, all the stuff that it links to. It's really insidious.
So wouldn't you even say that even using the word education, we really see that it's been an area, it's indoctrination that's coming in. And of course we all know where that leads. Is that correct? I mean, we'll talk about the stand for family and freedom for family, and how about the rights for family to be a true family? How has that been affected?
Well, it's really interesting because the Universal Declaration of Human Rights actually says that the family is the fundamental natural group unit of society. and it's entitled to protection by society and state.
And with that, we thank you so much. We're going to take a commercial break.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Well, welcome back to the Surrey Commander Radio Show, Sharon.
Thank you.
We're with Sharon Slater, and she, president of Family Watch International and a co-founder of Protect the Children Health Coalition. And that's what we're all about here this weekend at their 4th convention here in Indianapolis. We were talking about comprehensive sex education.
Yes.
Let our viewers, listeners, get a little more into the weeds. What is in all that?
Well, we have a federal funding stream right here in the United States. Under the Obama administration, they started with $101 million annually going to comprehensive sex education programs. Now let me tell you a little bit about what that looks like.
That's K through 12.
Okay, well, most of it starts at age 12 and above for this. There is an agenda starting actually for newborns. In fact, the World Health Organization, their standards for Europe start at newborns to 4 and say they should be taught to touch their body parts for sexual pleasure, masturbation, gender identity, and they actually
And our UN dollars help fund that?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but let's get to the federal funding of what's here in the United States.
Yeah.
So we have something called the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program that's administered by the Health and Human Services Department.
Yes.
And the appropriations from the federal government has been giving this program $101 million annually. There's a fight over it every year. Since they can't decide on the whole budget, it just keeps continuing at the $101 million level. And in order to get this money, you can only apply to implement specific programs on their list. And surprise, surprise, the programs on their list, almost all of them are Planned Parenthood CSE programs. I'll give you an example of one really popular one. It's called Making a Difference.
Okay.
It has a worksheet, and it says, what is abstinence? How do I express my sexual feelings?
Wow.
Then it asks the teacher to elicit as many responses as they can. They want to desensitize the children to sexual things. It has a list of the things that the teacher might want to elicit, like things like oral sex, touching each other's genitals, anal sex, holding hands, kissing, saying I like you, and all these things are equated with, you know.
And they're doing this with 12-year-olds.
They're doing this with 12-year-olds, making a difference. You can go to our website. If you go to stopcse.org, that's where we have our seminal documentary. It's called The War on Children, the Comprehensive Sexuality Education Agenda. And everything I've been talking about, you'll see on the screen the actual manuals, the excerpts, you'll see, and you can Google all of them, you can find them yourself as well. But that documentary really lays it out. We have it in 12 languages. We strongly suggest people to go to stopcse.org. And if they want to get connected to us, they can sign the petition there
it is.
online.
Talk about this petition.
Yeah, we want to hear
We're
about
real
that.
interested.
Sure. Well, you mentioned we have the Protect Child Health Coalition.
Right.
So we actually have another website for that. It's called protectchildhealth.org.
Okay.
If you go to either that website,
ProtectChildHealth.org.
protectchildhealth.org, if you either go to that website or the Stop CSE website, you'll find a USA map. You click on that USA map, you'll find a state profile.
Wow.
If you go into that state profile for your state, you'll find a chart with all the federally funded CSE programs in red. You click on those and you'll find all the quotes from all these horrible programs that are getting federal funding in your state. You'll see who got the funding so you can investigate them on the ground and try to stop them.
Real quickly, you've counseled the White House. Help our listeners know more about what you did up there, because it looked like it did a switch change.
Well, under the Obama administration, the United States was pushing the CSE through our foreign aid at the United Nations, And so the Trump administration continued that, and I was very troubled by that.
Yes.
We all know that the Trump administration is very pro-life.
Yes.
So I thought, I got invited to the White House because we work with a lot of the nations that they knew that we have influence with. And I thought my number one job is to show them how CSE is the number one tool to promote abortion. And I got really lucky. Right before I went there was a UN event, and it was by IPAS, which creates the handheld abortion suction kit, the do-it-yourself abortion kit, distributes it across the world.
Amazing.
They held an event, and it was right on the UN schedule. It said IPAS, and the name of their event was my gift before I went to the White House, because the name of their event was Without Abortion, It's Not Comprehensive Sexuality Education.
Wow.
So I took a screenshot,
Yes.
and I said, look it.
Truth will set you free.
Yeah, if you don't stop, if you're pushing comprehensive sex education, you're pushing abortion. And when I showed them, they said, you're right. We need to change our position. And so now the U.S. is strongly fighting against comprehensive sex education and all of these programs, and also trying to root it out of our federal funding.
That's
but Planned
key.
Parenthood keeps suing them. They're winning in the courts.
Yeah.
And they keep still getting the money, even though the Trump administration is trying to stop it.
And there's a continuing resolution now till I think the end of November.
Yeah, and it keeps-
that's how this
It
keeps
keeps
perpetuated.
going. It's a
Exactly.
cycle.
And we've got to stop it. We've got to raise awareness, because they use such nice sounding names to describe these programs. They even have opt-in forms that say, oh, this will help with healthy communication, it'll prevent STDs, it'll
Wow.
prevent teen pregnancies. But a new study just came out that looked at the same research that advocates of CSE is using to say that CSE does all these wonderful things and abstinence education doesn't. But the research actually shows the opposite. And there's another website where you can find all that information at sexedreport.org. That's sexedreport.org. And you can see all the research for yourself. No wonder these programs fail, because they have these 15 harmful elements that we've identified. Most of them score at least 13, 14, or 15 out of the 15 harmful elements.
I'm going to do one more thing. We'll switch over to Christina. What is the success rate of CSE?
Well, we'd be better to talk about the failure rate, because the
There you
failure
go.
rate worldwide is 87%.
Oh my.
In the United States, it's 85%. We're talking about school-based, comprehensive sex education. So we're pouring $101 million in every year to these failed programs. And 1 out of, I think it's 6, has showed an increase in sexual risk behavior. So it's actually causing kids to engage in risky sexual behaviors, some that we probably shouldn't even be talking about on a public radio show.
Wow.
But it's amazing that we do have to talk about it.
Yeah,
Because it's part of standing up for the family, which is, you also do something state by state. I love that. It's not just, as using it kind of like as a model for what, let's talk about some of that.
Thank you, because this is very, very exciting. People have been asking us, how do we get organized in
Yes.
every state?
Yeah.
So we are actually in the process, we hope to be done just in not too long, in a few weeks, of having a page on the Stop CSE website for every state, with a petition for every state, a coalition for every state, the links to the bad programs so people can see the quotes and all the news about what's happening. So for example, you can go right now to stopcsc.org/Arizona.
Wow.
And you will find our coalition, all the bad stuff that's in Arizona. You'll find our video on what's a really bad video showing what has been on the ground in Arizona. And we're going to be doing this for every state, state by state. So we would invite all your listeners, wherever they are, to go to their state page. If there isn't a state page yet, because we're in the process of putting them all up, contact us, say they want to be a part of helping create this coalition on the ground in their state. And at the minimum, sign our petition at stopcsc.org.
That's important. What about the legislators? I mean, are they being awakened to this? Are they getting off, we call sometimes their duffs, in order to do some of this on behalf of what the people are presenting to them?
Yeah. Our coalition in Arizona has only been alive for 4 months, and it has been waking up the legislators. They had no idea. They're livid. They're livid that even our Maricopa County Health, our state Arizona Department of Health Services, has been getting this money, this federal grants, and they've been pushing the list of all these bad programs under everybody's noses without anybody knowing about it. This is happening state by state. And so we've had some of the legislators say, since we presented, they said this might be the #1 fight for our at the legislature moving forward. We're trying to put forward a legislative list of things that we need to fix in our laws to protect children from this agenda.
That is powerful. And how do you believe that this is affecting even the young people, even the ones that we don't, in their 20s and their 30s? Are they becoming aware of some of this and seeing that this is a reality? It's not something us older people have and what's going on?
Well, the thing is, when children are engaging in sex, children of minor age, they're going to have a lot of negative outcomes. It's going to be harder for them to form stable families. Yeah. And we know that this is negatively affecting them in a big way. And when children learn
we're up against a heartbreak, Sharon. God bless you. Thank you for coming on the Consider Commandos Radio.